Justin, it's a pleasure to talk to you about this film. As I said, made me laugh so much. But it's difficult to achieve that humor because it's all about dosage. So how important is it to write it right?
There's a certain amount of pressure to write it correctly, but you know, I'm also writing it with Ben, you know, so I have the ultimate resource sitting across from me a lot of the time, at least when we're talking about like coming up with the story and the plot and you know what Derek would do. But it was also exhilarating to write for these characters. You know, I've been huge fans of the character even before the first movie when he was doing it as a bit, you know, as a sketch, and just thought it was always such an original, funny idea. So I was looking forward to writing it. It was. And you know, we would always just try and just cram as many jokes in as possible, and then you know, in the edit, Ben can always scale back or scale forward.
Yeah, no, it's true. Do you inspire also from things happening all over the world around you? Do you become more observant of the fashion industry and the popular culture?
Yeah, I think you know, for any good satire, you kind of have to be paying attention to you know what's sort of happening on a street level as far as you know the fashion world, or not even just fashion, music and you know, celebrity and all that kind of thing. So it was, you know, we tried to incorporate as many current things as we could into this one.
Who came up with the Bieber idea? I can say it because it's in the trailer. We know he's in it.
We know Bieber's in the trailer. It came out of a conversation. You know, once we had the sort of the through line of what our plot was, we needed a pop star, and there was really one go-to pop star that we could get, or that you know, who was the biggest pop star, and that was Justin Bieber.
Especially that social media is a big theme in this movie. Tell us a little bit about the social media influence and how it morphed the script as well.
I think it was something we had to run right towards because, you know, in 2001 there was no such thing as Snapchat, Instagram, you know, Facebook was around but barely. You know, so, and, you know, Derek and Hansel, having been out of it for so long, you know, these are mediums that were designed for them, like for narcissists. So, it seemed only natural that you know that would be something we should embrace, you know. And also with the Donatari character, you know, he sort of represents that sort of missing link of those 15 years, you know, so the millennial generation.
Absolutely, and I kept thinking they should sue the social media world for the selfie invention.
I know. Who do you sue? I mean, but my God, look at them. They love it. They can't even look at each other. They probably have.
They never look at each other. They look at themselves.
I know. That's the whole point of the selfie.
Well, I mean, the first one was, you know, the humor is great and outrageous, but you do get attached to those characters. So there has to be something that makes them so relatable to the audience for them to want them back for so long.
I think it's I think people like watching people dumber than themselves on film. You know, I mean, and that goes way back to Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin. You know, like playing idiots there's something just inherently funny, and I have no idea what it is, but just watching people incredibly stupid and being in incredible situations, I think it's just, you know, something we all get to laugh at.
That's true.
Yeah.
You were also in Rome, which I think added to the enthusiasm of filming this. Tell us a bit more about it.
I was just constantly struck by how much money and resources and history in Rome was being thrown at some of the stupidest lines like ever. It was just, there was a lot of times we were just kind of looking at each other going like, I can't believe we're getting away with this. They're letting us shoot in Rome. It's fantastic. So, and the craft service was delicious too. They had wonderful food for us there all the time.
Except for the models, because they
Except for the models.
Yeah,
poor Ben and Owen, who were having to remain in peak physical shape. I don't think they had a pasta the entire time we were there.
Maybe in secret, you never know.
Maybe.
Derek and Hansel.
Yeah, I know.
That's in number 3.
I know.
Secretly
totally.
gorging
I
on
think they're
pasta.
gluten-free and carb-free. I think they just ate celery sticks for the duration.
Well, Ben is obviously very known for his comedic talents, but he's a very serious guy about his craft. He takes it very seriously. He directs very seriously. Do you think that's the secret as well? Take comedy seriously.
Yeah, I think you have to, you know, because there's budgets and there's time frames and you know, I mean, we did an enormous amount of laughing, you know, in the writing and the shooting of this movie. But, you know, Ben unfortunately had the job of producing, directing, acting, you know, and developing, you know, the film. So it was, I remember just being very funny watching him, you know, sort of on camera, sort of playing Derek with his high, stupid voice, and then as soon as they yell cut, he'd immediately start shouting out commands and technical things and and asking for this. So seeing him in that wig and that outfit, seeing Derek be smart is a very alarming thing to see.
It is. Dizo, as they call it.
I know.
Something. A lot of things made me laugh. Those taglines were great. Was there improvisation? Obviously, it was, the script was set in stone, but does it allow for, new things to happen?
Absolutely, yeah. When you have such funny people, you want them to be as funny as they can be. They will inevitably bring, Kristen, and just in their mannerisms and their voices and their actions, they'll inevitably bring something that is something you couldn't have possibly scripted. So, you'll shoot the thing as scripted, but then, you want them to riff. You want them to bring something, fun, to improve on it, if they can.
You want Will Ferrell to do whatever he sets
not Will.
his mind on.
I don't want Will to do anything. I just want Will to say the words and leave. No, you want Will. Yeah, there's a million things that he did in this movie that we couldn't have put on paper. It has to just be done in front of a camera.
You guys are all a group of actors that have, you're a generation of comedians that have worked together here and there, etc. It must be a great time for you guys to get together, to talk about your work, it's happy dinners.
This has been a really fun press tour because, we've been jetting, we were in Paris and then Rome and then Madrid and Berlin, now we're here. And it's really nice because, the pressure's kind of, or it's not off, because we hope the movie's received, but it's been really nice just having dinners and, at the end of the day, knocking back a cocktail and having you're with some of the funniest people. We've been laughing a lot this whole trip.
Talking about laughing a lot, do you remember the films that have made you laugh so much? Cult films in your head where you laughed so much you won't forget.
Most of Mel Brooks's movies, Steve Martin movie, The Jerk, was the first movie I remember wheezing with laughter at, crying with laughter and having to pause and finish laughing and then starting again. That was one of those just incredible, you could learn a lot just from watching that one single movie. There was just so many, it's such a rich script and so beautifully performed by Steve Martin. That was the one that it still, has, I should put it on my mantle in my house.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
And finally, should there be a third one? Because we're all hoping, will you make us wait 15 years
I
or
think
will
we're
it
going
be
to wait
immediate?
30 to 33 years, 40 years, and then we're going to do a third. Get them really old. Models in beds. Exactly.
Or
just on life
Jesus.
support machines, just being wheeled around by much younger people.
Hey, I'd still watch.
I know, I would too.